Welcome back to Florida Powerboat Club's YouTube channel. Stu Jones here with you as we reintroduce the all-new Flight 1130 Nonstop, which is getting re-rigged here at TNT Marine Center in North Miami. This repower project is brought to you by Mercury Racing, and yes, the Project 1080, as we once knew her, has been dethroned, and she's about to get a new throne and a new name with those Mercury Racing 565s. And we've got our producer Ryan McCoy making the left turn here onto 135th Street, going to visit with the guys at TNT today for another segment. And this one is going to be the good one, guys, where we actually get to lift those 565s and put them into the engine room of that cigarette Top Gun, an old school 2000 model year straight bottom cigarette that has done a lot of hours with the Florida Powerboat Club since we did a complete refit back in 2018, and now it is 2022, and there's a lot of heavy lifting going on here at TNT Marine Center as these Mercury Racing 540s have come out, and they still look as clean as these brand new 565s, which looks they still have the plastic on them. We've just removed them out of their shipping crates here at TNT, but today is the day that they're going to be rigged and hoisted into the engine room. Well, let's talk about the differences between these engines because they're very subtle. The cubic inch displacement and the horsepower, very similar, but if you're an engine builder, you're going to tell me that the 565s are designed much differently than the 540s when it comes to the fuel system. Here's the specs, and if you really got to be a technical guy to see the big differences. There's not a lot of difference here. But as Eric Christensen told me recently at Cigarette Racing Team, Stu, you're going to really like these Mercury Racing 565s. They've just got a different valve train. They're designed a little differently, and they're going to give you that extra little bit of horsepower that's really going to reflect in the performance of this cigarette Top Gun. But what is also important is the fact that the Mercury Racing 540 is now a discontinued engine, and the 565 is going to be the go-to engine for somebody looking for that kind of performance. And for me, that's perfect for my cigarette. Now look at this engine bay. We haven't done a thing other than clean it up here at TNT. That was rigged back in 2018 at Performance Marine Trading in Fort Lauderdale, and the engine room was painted by Dark Force Marine. Those 540s ran so well, and the boat was well serviced. So, we're really looking still at a very brand new boat in terms of how it was in the refit stages back in 2018. And of course, remember in our last episode, you'll see that the tabs, the Sport 380s, as well as these transom assemblies getting ready for the Bravo XRs are all brand new hardware. So, we really went back to the drawing board with Mercury Racing, and that was all done back earlier this year when we met with the team at the Miami International Boat Show. And really, I feel very fortunate to have that relationship that we have with Mercury Racing, and all of the management team there decided, well, Stu, we really need to give you the best of the best, so we're going to give you all the new hardware that you need, including those Mercury Racing 565s. But let's not stop there. Let's give you the proper propulsion, new transom assemblies, and Bravo XR drives with Sportmaster lowers. So let's focus on the star of the show right now. That's Yavuz in the rigging department at TNT. And he is now installing the engine mounts that are manufactured right here at TNT. So this is what I love about TNT. If they need parts, they make their own parts. But look at those parts. I mean, that is a plate aluminum, all welded up, and of course powder coated to match the look of the boat with the charcoal metallic. And now you can see Yavuz is giving a little treatment with the 5200. Or perhaps 4200, depending on what he chose today. But I can't help noticing just how clean the engine room is here. And remember that the rest of the parts and all that rigging is, 4.5 years old. And I just have to say that I'm very happy with how well maintained this boat has been. And I'm going to do my best to keep it that way, going forward. And that speaks to the whole Resto-mod nature of what the, formerly Project 1080 and now the Flight 1130 Nonstop is. If you take an old school boat like this, it's 20 or 25-year-old hull, and you start from scratch, go back to ground zero, clean the boat up. Of course, you have to start with a hull that is structurally in good shape, and then maintain it that well. You can ride the boat hard, but you'd have to constantly be looking for stress cracks and various issues, with the stringers. You got to take a look and inspect the boat on a regular basis. But as long as you take care of it and don't drive it too hard and don't put it away wet all the time, you're going to have a boat that will last you a very, very long time. Look at this boat is now going on 22 years old. And I would say it's got easily another 8 to 10 years of shelf life, in my lifetime anyway. And if you look around, you'll see a lot more guys are doing these Resto-mods. And why not? I mean, you can't really buy this boat that easily anymore. Nobody really makes it anymore. Cigarette is doing very well for themselves, but they're not going to produce you an old school 38-foot Top Gun like this. It just doesn't exist. So if you really like this style of boat and you're willing to put the time and the effort and spend a little money, you can bring a boat like this back to life, and spend maybe less than $250,000 and have essentially a brand new boat with reliable power. And remember now, these Mercury Racing 565s have a full 2-year warranty. Another thing I want to do is really speed up the maintenance intervals and make sure I can do oil changes quickly and efficiently. So I chose the reverso pump system for doing my oil changes. Here's Lupe talking a little bit about it.
Hey guys, how you doing? As you know, we're going to be putting in a reverso oil change pump in the boat. What this is going to do is you'll be able to open the valve up. This lines here will be connected to each engine on the oil pan, so you'll be able to suck the oil out of it and do a quick oil change. And when you suck it out, there's another fitting up here and blows it out into a bucket with a hose. Now, it's a really nice little piece. I mean, nice and compact. It's got a nice switch on it. What the nice thing is also about this, if you want to, you can go drain or you can go fill. And what it does is you can stick the hose in a clean oil and you can pump fresh oil back into the engine. So what's kind of cool about that?
I wanted to learn more about these reverso pumps, so I first went on their website and I found they make a whole line of products that are related to various pumping systems. Of course, the oil change systems seem to be their main product line. They also make a lot of fuel transfer pumps. And then they have the automatic outboard flushing systems, which got my attention, considering we do as much saltwater boating as we are now. And then with these multi-engine configurations, these reverso flushing systems, you can do up to 3 motors at a time. They say they're working on a quad and a quint setup, but right now you would do like a 3-engine and a 2-engine setup if you had 5 motors. And you just basically connect just once and it'll flush all the motors at one time. So they make an extensive line of flushing systems and fuel pumps and oil pump systems. So I wanted to discuss more with the company and find out more about these products. I had a chance to visit their factory in Davie, Florida, where I got a first-hand look at their full line of products. So I would highly suggest you visit their website at reversopumps.com and find out what the right system is for your boat. And my favorite part of the show, aside from Ed Garcia's 41 Apache up there on the top rack, is connecting the 565 to the engine hoist, and that means we're going to be putting some hardware into the engine room now finally, and that's getting us one step closer to seeing that Flight 1130 nonstop back out on the waterways and attending the next poker run. Yavuz and his staff, very detailed workers, I've got to say. I didn't spend a lot of time in the shop while they were doing this, but we have extensive amount of video, and they're very detail oriented, and I think that comes along with the territory, learning from the best. Mike Thomas and Johnny Tomlinson and the entire rigging department here at TNT. These guys have been in the business for decades. Trust me, when I started the Florida Powerboat Club back in 1991, we did our first poker run in Miami. Started the club in 92. And, Johnny had already been rigging championship offshore race boats. First time I went by his shop, he literally had tables and tables of trophies from all of his championships in offshore powerboat racing. And a good friend of mine, Lauren Leibel from Canada, used Johnny to do all his rigging and, of course, throttling on the race boats. He's had several, but at the time, it was Canada Homes. And with all the guys that I rolled around with, all the performance guys that I got to hang out with and became my industry peers, would say that, Mike Thomas and Johnny Tomlinson were the guys that you had to get to if you wanted to win races, or if you wanted to have the best rigging. And from that point on, so many of my Florida Powerboat Club members have gone here and had their rigging done here. And it doesn't matter what you're talking about. If you're looking at, that 50 skater called Kong with the Mercury Racing 1550s, which was, just rigged in the last year, and in fact made its Key West Poker Run debut in November of 2021. But then you can go back 25 years, and they were rigging skater race boats in the early 90s and the mid 90s and winning racing championships all over the country for decades. And a lot of you guys know what those are. Those are Drive Guardians from Marine Design Corp. We had taken those off of the Mercury Racing 540s and switched them over to the 565s, and that's just going to help me with my sloppy throttling. When I get out into the rough stuff, it's going to help me to preserve those Bravo XR drives because they give me that little added extra comfort in knowing that if I'm not quick on the throttles, when I come off on a wave and I go back and enter into the water, I put a lot of stress and torque onto that Bravo XR drive. Drive Guardian's going to help me by giving me a little bit of a split-second forgiveness there, so that we don't put all that torque back through the drivetrain and do any damage to those Bravo XR uppers. And that's a precarious position for these riggers to be in, but I guess we haven't lost any riggers yet from what I hear over at TNT, so today we're not going to lose anybody either. That engine weighs 1,201 pounds, that's right, the way it is hanging right there, so that would leave a real bump on your head if it came down a little too fast. From what I could see in the video, everything went off, without a hitch. The engines went smack right into place. Of course, those custom-built engine mounts and brackets lined up perfectly, and Yavuz is getting the wrench to it and getting everything locked in place. You can see he's still got the engine hanging on the hoist until he gets everything in place. So once everything is locked in and snugged in, he's going to be able to release the hoist and start on the port engine next. Well, there's a place that I don't spend a lot of time is in an engine room during a rigging session. So I'm not going to tell you what he's doing because I don't really know, but I do know that he just released the engine hoist, and that means that engine is securely in place and it's time to go to the next one. And of course, guys, you know that the alignment here on these engine installations must be absolutely perfect. If you're out of alignment, you're going to have problems. Lupe gives it his sign of approval, saying that everything lined up just perfectly. And that means that now we can attach that Bravo XR, and we know that the shaft alignment is ideal. We're not going to have any stressing or any torquing, so we can deliver all 565 horsepower to that Bravo XR drive. Well, guys, I'm getting chills just watching these motors go in. I just enjoy this so much. It's so exciting. But the good news is that in our next episode, we're going to get a chance to sea trial the all-new Flight 1130 nonstop and give those new Mercury Racing 565s a good run. Thanks to TNT Marine Center. Thanks to Mercury Racing for fixing me up with this all-new equipment. And, of course, thanks to Cigarette Racing Team for their continued sponsor support with the Florida Powerboat Club. So for all of you old-school Repower Resto-mod guys out there in the performance world, this episode was for you. And I know you enjoyed every second of it, and there's plenty more to come. Thanks for watching the Florida Powerboat Club here on YouTube. This is Stu Jones with producer Ryan McCoy here in the Pompano Beach studio. So stay tuned for the next Mercury Racing feature episode with the new Flight 1130 nonstop. Please like this episode and be sure to subscribe to our channel. Click that notification bell so you'll get an update every time a new episode is released. Bye for now.